So today we've got a full cold DM masterclass that I hosted inside my community and members absolutely loved it. So I thought, why not share it to you beautiful people on my YouTube so you can sign more clients through cold DMs. I've personally seen hundreds of thousands of DMs being sent through myself and my VAs, so if you watch this video all the way through, it will pretty much be impossible for you not to book appointments. We actually cover the newest and latest strategies for how to find high quality leads, how to send the perfect opener that's actually working nowadays, how to set up your profile, and everything in between. You're not going to want to miss this. Grab a coffee and let's get into it. I wanted to share some things I haven't talked about before, so yeah, I think you guys, if you are looking to book appointments in the DMs, there's probably not going to be a better training than this, and you'll see why as I go through. But essentially, the goal is to get your first or next client in less than a week, and I'm going to explain all the metrics and just everything that I would do to get a client in a single 7-day period. And it is possible, but you're going to have to follow this quite carefully and actually execute after me telling you what to do, right? Because none of this information is valuable if you don't actually implement it. So nonetheless, yeah, I'll provide the source, but no one's going to do the DMs for you. If you can get a notepad out, focus, and watch to the end. Yeah, otherwise it probably won't work because these things work together. So nonetheless, let's get into the first part, which is lag indicators. So to achieve anything, whether it's a client, whether it's a certain revenue that you want to hit each month, you need to know the lag indicators, meaning the end result of what you want to achieve. Because yeah, it's like you can't achieve something when you don't know what you're getting. So let's just say you want a client and that client is going to pay you $1,500. So what this means is, I assume a lot of you in here aren't amazing at sales. So hypothetically, let's just go for a safe approach and say you've got a 10% close rate, which means you need 10 appointments to get one client, right? Who's going to pay you $1,500. This will start to make sense in a second, but to get 10 appointments, most people say that they have a booking rate of 2%, and I don't think that's true at all. I think 0.5% is what most people have. It's pretty common, and that also means that you need 200 DMs per appointment, right? Which ultimately means 2,000 DMs per client. So this can be expected as a realistic, and I've gone for more of a safe. Obviously, you probably could get a 1%, but I'm just going for a safe approach. Now, 2,000 DMs to get a client means that each DM you send, you'll actually be making 75 cents, which is an approach that not many people look at, right? Because you can secretly count up the dollars as you're sending DMs as a bit of a fun way to gamify sending DMs, because I know it's not the most fun thing to do. But here's where it starts to get interesting, because if you're making 75 cents per DM, it's not bad, but there's two approaches you can do to get more clients. You could either send more DMs. So if you send 4,000 DMs, you'll get 2 clients, right? And that is one way. Or you could have better positioning and overall better DMs to get more clients, right? So those are fundamentally the only two things you can really do for cold DMs to get more clients. You can do more, or you could do better, or you could do a combination of the both, or you could argue that you need to do more to get better, but that's a story for another day. But here's the thing, DMs are fractal, so you can write this down if you want. It basically means that if you can't get a client per 2,000 DMs, the chances of you signing one from the next 2,000 is very, very minimal. It's next to none. So in my opinion, the best approach is to increase the amount you make per DM you send. So what this means is, if you follow this training, each DM you send should be worth around $3. So now, and the maths behind that is essentially, if you send 60 DMs per day for 7 days, that's 420 DMs per week. And if you do 1,500, which is the amount that we're going to make per the amount of DMs you send, if this works, then that will be around $3.5 per actual DM you send, which is quite fun. But yeah, it leaves us with the latter option. And in my opinion, this is the way to go. And that's what you're going to learn in this training, how to get better positioning, how to basically have better direct response copywriting to be able to get more appointments through DMs. Because obviously I could just tell you guys to send 10,000 DMs, which I see quite commonly people talk about, but that's just not the smart way to go about it. If you can't make something work on the micro, it's probably not going to work on the macro. So that's why, yeah, I think it's you can send. It's like you wouldn't start running ads with $200 a day in ad spend, right? You would start with probably $25 and do a test phase of 14 days. It just doesn't make sense to be sending thousands of DMs when you haven't even booked an appointment or gotten a client through it. But nonetheless, doing better and becoming a master of DMing is what we're going to focus on in this training. So having a better offer, having a better underexposed opener, having better positioning, which links to your profile optimization, and better lead quality. So we're going to cover mainly these 5 things in this training, without it taking too much time and me trying to get the most for the time that we have here. So here's what most people don't realize. After me personally sending and then overseeing hundreds of thousands of DMs across me and my old done for you VA agency, which was pretty hectic in terms of the volume that we were sending out for coaches. We worked with relationship coaches, business coaches, fitness coaches, and I've witnessed a lot of different DMs being sent from pretty much every niche you can think of. Some cold, some warm, but nonetheless, right? Here are the actual numbers of what matters the most, and this is just out of 10, right? So in priority, from what we've gathered as data, 8 out of 10, so meaning that it's quite an important thing, is the profile and positioning you have in the market. Another 8 out of 10 is the lead quality and just messaging people that haven't been messaged before, or people that haven't been exposed to agencies or your type of business model. And then the least important is the actual message, which most people don't realize. And this is all on the assumption that you have a quantifiable offer, meaning that you get a certain niche X result in X time frame, and you just have a guarantee, right? So that's all, because obviously you could argue that if you don't send any messages, then you won't book appointments, and therefore this would be a 10 out of 10 thing, right? But I'm just assuming that you have a quantifiable offer, and therefore these are the 2 most important things. But nonetheless, we're going to cover all of these 3 things to make sure they're really good. So let's talk about the leading indicators. So leading indicators is how you achieve a goal. This is the inputs you need to do daily to actually get the lag indicator. So like we talked about at the top, about the lag indicator being 1 client for $1,500. That's the lag. That's what we're looking for. The leading is how we get this. So on a day-to-day breakdown, here's what I would recommend if you wanted the best success of getting a client in the next 7 days. And it's actually not that high volume. You'll notice that it's only 60 DMs per day, but the tactic we're going to use, once again, as I said, is going to increase the amount you make per DM. So 10 hyper-personalized DMs will cover a framework for that below. You've got 50 opening DMs, which is your typical opener, and I'll give you examples for that below. 30 follow-ups, and once again, you'll get a Google Drive folder with my actual follow-ups for Instagram DMs below. 1 to 3 stories. This is just so when you message people. To be honest, the biggest battle I've seen with cold DMs is just making the prospect see that you're a real person. So if we can introduce factors to increase that, like having a story when you reach out to them, because when you read a DM, you can quite literally see that pink line or the circle above. So if they can click on it and see you're an actual person, maybe you go on a walk once a day, maybe you have a coffee, just put down a story. It doesn't really matter what it is, but that's just a quick tip, that most of the battle is just quite literally you making the prospect see the real person, because I know a lot of people want to send like 1,000 DMs per day, and therefore they have to buy, well, I mean, you can only really do 60 DMs per account. So you'd have to buy, 13, 15 accounts. And that is what I mean about the biggest thing is just making prospects see that you're real, because if you buy accounts, there's nothing against it, but you have to spend a bit more time on making it look like you're a real person. But nonetheless, and then also follow all your ideal avatars. And this is more for long term, because you'll start to get 5% follow you back on a day-to-day basis. But nonetheless, the B2B industry average for getting a response, which most people don't understand, is 5 touch points. So the majority of prospects will not respond to you until you message them 5 times. You may have to change your belief on that, but that is just literally the average statistic. So if you aren't doing 5 touch points, then you're just missing out. Think about how many clients just haven't seen your original message because you haven't done the follow-ups. It's like a lot of money you could be leaving out, but we'll get to that later. The thing I'm going to cover firstly is split testing this. So the hyper-personalized DMs versus the 50 opening DMs, because I get asked all the time, should you have a really personalized message to the prospect, or should you just have an opening message? And what we're going to be doing is split testing, and it will make sense in a second. One of the founders of Walmart, what he did in terms of split testing, just for a bit of context, he actually, I believe this is true, he moved the aisles. So obviously, you have aisles in a shopping, like in any food place, supermarket. He essentially moved the aisles in terms of length in width each week to see if it had a direct response to the actual amount of sales per like aisle, right? And what he noticed was there was actually a correlation. The more tight it was, the more sales, I think, is what the study showed, which is pretty interesting. But it goes to show that like he was split testing literally the width. So like the most weird thing you could probably split test, yeah, in a business. But nonetheless, here's how it works. So let's start with lead quality. I was going to do split testing, but that's actually to explain the 10 hyper this versus this, right? But we'll get to actual frameworks and templates in literally like 5 minutes. So lead quality, as I mentioned, this is like an 8 out of 10 task that's probably really damn important. So what I recommend doing is on Saturday or Sunday. So you could argue that after today, you could literally start this challenge and get a client this week. So I'd recommend just getting your leads for the week on Sunday or Saturday. And yeah, you just collect your leads for the week. And one thing to notice, like what I was saying about split testing, don't do more than one variable at a time, because obviously if one week you book a ton of appointments and you change multiple variables like the lead source and the copy, then you're not going to know what it was that actually drove those appointments, right? So you only want to change one variable at a time. So to start with, you would split test a different lead source, right? So essentially spend 1 to 2 hours. It could be after this call. It doesn't have to be boring. You could listen to music and just scrape personal profiles of who you want to target, right? But you only actually need 420 leads, in my opinion, to make this work. But we're going to go a bit crazy with the follow-ups, which I'll explain in a second. And you would essentially start on an external platform to find a guru and then transition over to the platform you want to send DMs on. So, for example, if you wanted to target real estate, you would simply search for real estate coach, right? Someone who's helping your niche. If we click on this person, this is a prime example, because if we actually let's go to our profile, what you'll find is you can't actually see her Instagram in here. So this is the perfect example of what you should be looking for in your niche, right? Someone who helps your ideal avatars, but then going a step further, my thought process is how can we get leads that haven't been messaged before, right? Haven't been exposed to agencies. And this is the way you would do it, right? Because you can't even get to her Instagram. So even if people start like doing this method, you want to try and find people who aren't basically what I'm trying to say is don't make it easy to message who you're trying to message. So if we go onto Instagram, you can see her name is Jackie, yeah, however you pronounce that. If we go onto Instagram and search for her name, let's quickly go off that. Let's see if it was, yeah, so it's just spelled like that. You can see that she pops up here, but you wouldn't have been able to get this through YouTube, right? Because it just wasn't available. So here's her profile, and you can see that if you go to her followers, you can see that Ava, this person's a realtor. So this is just an example if you were targeting realtors, right? And there's probably 4,500 leads here who are, not all of them, but you can see there's Roy, who's a real estate agent. And these people, I guarantee you, wouldn't have been messaged more than 10 to 50 times compared to, I promise you, who you usually message, they get a ton of responses. So this is like the ultimate method. You can see here that this person, so what you'd want to do is you'd want to basically use instant data scraper. I'm not going to go through this because I've done it in multiple times before, but essentially instant data scraper, get the Chrome extension, scrape all of these people, and then basically upload that file to ChatGPT, just saying filter everyone out who isn't realtor or have real estate in their either name or bio. So this person would be a qualified one, but that's a super easy way to just get all these 4,000 in a matter of 2 minutes. You can get your leads for the week, literally in 2 minutes, by just using instant data scraper and then uploading it to ChatGPT. I think most of you guys understand that, unless you're new to the community. I'm just going to see if anyone doesn't understand that method, but It's yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah, I don't want to cover it because it will take 2 minutes, but nonetheless, that is how I would personally get leads. Let's just quickly see if anyone's got a message, thoughts on IG. Yeah, so I'll answer questions after, but now let's quickly move on because I don't want to spend too much time on this. Um, yeah, now let's talk about positioning in the markets. Once again, this is an 8 out of 10 important task. So yeah, I've actually gotten responses from people who have 1 million followers, which is pretty. Let me just mute someone. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, I've gotten responses from people over 1 million followers on Instagram, and you're probably wondering how is that possible? And it's quite literally your authority and position in the market. So, cold DMs, just a quick belief change, is quite literally another form of advertising. Most of you know that you have to pay to get clients, whether it's your time, capital, or ignorance debt. Now, most of you, I would advise paying with your time and money, not ignorance debt, because that one can take you months or years not knowing how to get the result that you want in life. But nonetheless, time and money. But that's how you would typically advertise. And cold DMs, you're just spending your time pretty much to get people to see your message. That is as simple as I can explain it, right? So it's just another form of advertising. And as mentioned, 90% of your prospects, when you send them a message, will, if you don't have a story, you're missing out on quite a lot of nurturing, right? But also, most of them will just click on your profile, right? So think about it. That's quite literally ads within itself. You pay to get people to click on your profile, or you pay to get someone to send you a DM. So it's quite literally just another form of advertising if you really think about it. But nonetheless, 90% of people, let me bold that, will just click on your profile to see if it's worth responding to your message. Because branding within itself is association. It's what you associate someone with, and that is what you think of them. So if you are helping real estate, I would highly advise you go to networking events every weekend, take some photos, have B-roll maybe. It's just that's honestly what I would do. Whoever you're helping, you have to blend in with them on your profile. So I think that's a really good way of going about it. And think about also how you can get the most collateral for who you're helping in the little time spent. So that like networking strategy that I just like talked about would be so good because you could spend 2 hours on a Saturday going to a free event, which I'm sure you guys are in cities or you can probably find it if you search. Obviously, this is more for like I don't know, people who help like in-person businesses rather than online businesses. But nonetheless, you can go to that event, spend 2 hours. Not only can you talk to your niche, get like questions answered about and then improve your offer, but you can also get B-roll, you can get nice photos, which all help you have a higher position in the market and resonate. Because as I said, when people click on your page, naturally humans like to be around other people who are similar, just because we're tribal things, right? So if you can resonate when they click on your profile, that's going to help. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. For example, Hormozy, just to go over what association means. If you think about like Alex Hormozy, you probably think of the fact that gym comes to mind, and maybe like I don't know, business or something else, because that's what you associate him with. So that's just a quick side note. But let's get into some examples of how I would have my profile laid out, and let's just quickly speed run this. So I've actually got some examples of other people, and there is a quick difference. I do want to preference there's a difference between if you're getting traffic through an inbound source, like for me, I have YouTube. This will make sense in a second. Let me quickly find how I can. Um, I think Myro's actually changed the. Oh, it's here. Yeah. So if you are getting traffic from another platform at the top of your funnel, whether it's, I don't know, Facebook ads or whether it's YouTube content, you would want to have a bio like this, okay, with a keyword. Now, having, if you don't have another platform at your top of the funnel, then I wouldn't recommend having any of this. Now, that is just my opinion. The reason for that is because if you message someone outbound and they see that you, I don't know, are doing AI, it's basically like they know that you're trying to sell them something before you actually even get to the point. So therefore, that can lower the or raise the sales resistance quite a lot. So obviously, make sure you have the blue tick. if you don't have the blue tick, you're missing out on quite a high percentage of people who won't respond to you. Make sure your profile is your face and someone can clearly see you. And make sure you have some nice photos, like what I was saying. It could be you at events, it could be you at nice dinners. But this once again helps your positioning in the market. So yeah, and story highlights, like mentioned before, really important. But like this would be a better profile for outbound. You see how it's not as because obviously if you're getting traffic from another top of funnel platform, then you want to get them to do something once they click on your page. But when you're sending a cold DM, you want them to respond to your DM, right? So that's the difference, just to explain it. So this would be a better personal profile, but it still follows the same principles of having and this is just a random person I found, by the way, to get my point across, but same thing, verified, photo of face, some story highlights, and just like photos to show that he's a real person. Maybe he likes photography, I don't know. But once again, make sure it relates to your niche. This would be more for inbound. Some of you may have seen his YouTube, but once again, it's the same premise. I'm not going to keep going on about it. But you notice how all of these people who are doing very well have the same thing, and this would be the perfect outbound one, just for a quick I don't know, example, because he doesn't have a bio, so it provokes curiosity. Because when you get a message from him, you're wondering like, what does this guy actually do? So if anyone's going to book an appointment with you, and most of you, like, you should understand why people book appointments. If you don't, then just go to the cold DM masterclass in here. I think it's this one. But I basically explain why people book appointments in here: curiosity, pain threshold, action threshold. There's a few reasons for that, but nonetheless, this would be like the perfect one. So that's just a quick one on profiles and how to position yourself higher in the market. So hopefully you gain some value from that. But I would recommend just like optimizing for resonating or resonance, if you would say that with your niche. So yeah, you'll be sending 6 DMs per day. So this is number 3. So far we've covered lead quality. So you should understand that. You should understand how to optimize your profile. Now we're just going to cover messaging, which is probably not the most important, but nonetheless, this is how you're going to actually get people to book appointments. So the first 10 DMs you send each day, I would highly recommend sending very personalized DMs. So these are hyper personalized DMs, and these are only to the people that you would love to work with. So what you'll notice is as you're scraping the leads, like talked about here on, I don't know, once a week just to save time, you'll notice that you'll find people who would be like your most ideal avatars in terms of working with them. So for these people who you'd love to work with or love to get the chance to work with, and you know you would be able to help them and kill it with them, these are the people you're going to be sending the hyper personalized DMs to, right? And just as a side note, these require infinite more aggressive follow-ups. So if they don't respond to this hyper personalized DM that you're going to send them following the framework below, you're not going to stop doing follow-ups. You would do one follow-up. Quickly do this one follow-up every 24 hours. And that's just like a thing you have to do, right? That's non-negotiable. If you don't do that, then you're once again you're just missing out on money basically. But yeah, your belief. I'm not going to get into beliefs because I talk about that quite a lot. But this is the first split test, and for this hyper personalized DM, I'm going to cover a framework now, and this won't get the highest response compared to the second one, which I'll cover, which will get a 20% first reply rate, but it serves a different purpose. Just like you have content that serves a different purpose in terms of you have top of funnel content to get people into your ecosystem, middle of the funnel to trust them, bottom of the funnel to convert. Same with cold DMs. This is to essentially, you'll notice that it has such a low first reply rate because we're going to be either sending them a Loom or a video natively on the platform. But if they do respond to this message you're going to send them, we've noticed that the booking rate and closing rate is quite a lot higher compared to the second one, which is just an opener, which I'll give you examples for. This is a 20% first reply rate, which is pretty crazy, but it's not the same booking rate, which is interesting. So that's just a quick for context, but here's the framework you would follow when sending these 10 hyper personalized DMs to your most ideal avatars. So name, so obviously you put your name, you can say who you help as well. So hey, my name's Charlie, I help online coaches with XYZ, and then you're going to introduce an opportunity. You're going to hook them in with risk reversal or a free lead magnet. Very important, because realistically, they don't really care about your name and they don't really care about if you're messaging people who are high authority in your market, they don't have time to be listening to a random person talk about their name, right? They just want to get to the point. So you're just going to hook them in with risk reversal or free lead magnet. So that could think about an ad. It's quite literally the same as you would record an ad. So you would basically say something like, um, I don't expect you to pay me anything. Here's my offer, and if it works, we can figure something out, right? So you basically want to hook them in with huge amounts of risk reversal, because as you know, if you aren't booking appointments, it's because you aren't going that hard with the risk reversal. And in my opinion, it's much better to get appointments on your calendar by telling them that you're going to work for free or you're going to have, I don't know, this crazy risk reversal, than not get any appointments in the first place. So that's just a quick tip. But you do want to make sure you diminish their doubts and fears. So I can immediately tell you from someone that gets a lot of these, the thing that I'm thinking, which is quite often not addressed in the video, is how much is it going to cost? Which you wouldn't say, but you would basically remove that objection, which I'll talk about in a second. Um, I don't know. Am I going to have to spend time doing something? And I'm trying to think what else. No, it's mainly like, do I have to pay an upfront fee? Do I have to spend time? And I don't know, maybe a few other things. So those are objections that you'd remove in the actual variation one, which is this what we're talking about. So you basically, yeah, as I said, just introduce your name, include social proof, help them resonate by saying we help your niche, and then just hook them in with a strong, unique hook, and then diminish their doubts and fears, right? So that's as simple as it gets. And then you would end with the call to action. Now, in terms of this call to action, it doesn't have to be a booked appointment because realistically, not many people are going to jump on a booked appointment from having seen a 30-second video of a stranger. Now, I would personally have this booked appointment as a free audit or something that you can give them before getting on the appointment. It will work a lot better, I promise you. You may be thinking, oh, I'd rather just ask for an appointment, but it's very unlikely you'll get appointments from one message. It's like I personally wouldn't spend 20 minutes out of my day or even 5 minutes out of my day to hop on an appointment with someone that hasn't provided me value. So that's just a quick one. But for looms, if you can, show their profiles. So just have their profile as you're showcasing it and maybe give them a bit of value in the loom, basically. But once again, you would only make it 90 seconds if it's a loom, and I think either 30 seconds if it's a video. So the reason, once again, you see how we split test one? So this is just like for 10 then. This is just for like the most ideal people you'd want to work with, like the people you'd love to work with. You only do 10. But once again, we still split test the 10. We do 5 looms and then 5 native videos. And if you do this, what I'm going to explain for a week, I highly doubt you won't sign a client. I'd be very surprised. But you'll find that most people start to get emotional and then they start to think, oh, it doesn't work after the fact that they don't get any responses, when in reality, it takes most people 5 messages to actually respond. So most people just don't understand that. But nonetheless, that should explain the framework for the first part, which is the least amount of messages we send, but the highest personalized. And obviously, yeah, as I mentioned, really important, you do one follow-up every 24 hours for this. For this one, this is the typical DM that you probably are looking for, in terms of how to get them to respond to your first message. So we do 50 DMs of this per day. So this is where you would spend most of your DMs. And obviously, as you scale this, so after a week, if you do get a client and it works, you can then start to scale this, but make sure you don't remove any quality out of this. So for example, if you want to double the inputs, you would send 100 of these messages per day and 20 of these messages per day, right? So that's just a quick tip for scaling this up. But this is an easy yes question that gets the prospect to respond. And here's some examples for different niche. So if you're working with roofing companies, I would personally say something like, hey, first name, do you offer proper insulation or ventilation? That would be an amazing opener that they haven't received before. And it would get at least a 20 to 25% first reply rate. So that's pretty good. But if you're working with real estate, an example would be, hey first name, and we've gone for a lowercase h here. And that's just a quick tip that you can do to make it more casual, right? Because I think a lot of people try to be too professional in their DMs. And that's what I was speaking to Matt about, and he runs like a seven-figure agency. He says that his opening message on LinkedIn is quite literally like a lowercase, it's all lowercase, and there's even spelling mistakes in the message. That's what he does. And he's messaging like ultra high net worth individuals like who make like over 10 million. So it's crazy, right? And he actually makes it more casual because at the end of the day, you're speaking to a person. So yeah, I think that's important for fitness. And once again, just use language that your niche would resonate with. So if you're speaking with younger people, use like this terminology. If you're speaking with older people, maybe hi would be better than hey. But yeah, you get the point. You can go onto Google and just search for like your niche and then services to get an idea of what your, I mean, you should know who you're helping and what they sell. But if you don't, just go onto Google and search for your niche and then services, and you'll get an idea of a question that you can basically ask them that hasn't been messaged to them before. And I get asked a lot, like, what happens if they get annoyed after you ask them one of these like opening questions that do that like sort of like hooks them in. And my personal response would be we're in business to make money, not friends, right? So if you I can't remember who quoted it was something similar to this, but there was a guy that said like, yeah, we're not here to make friends, we're here to scale a business. So um if this is your belief, then I would say like how have your beliefs served you so far up until this point in your life? So yeah, that's why you probably shouldn't listen to your beliefs if you are starting and not in the position that you want in life. So don't be afraid to ask one of these like opening questions to get a response. And as long as you have like a nice second message, which as explained is going to be yeah, something. I mean, you could even have the split test V1, the variation one, as the second message. So that could be your like offer technically, if you think about it. Um, or it could just be this in text format. But either way, it would be a direct response copywriting message. So it'd be with a call to action. So yeah, that's just a quick one. But yeah, I think you could even split test this further. So if we actually let me quickly write this down. So if we have an offer as the second message, because I know I'm trying to think who's let's see if anyone's got any questions. I'll answer your questions in a second, guys, but I just want to get through like an offer as a second message. It would be something like awesome, and then it would be your. I mean, it's if you don't have any social proof, like I used to say, we helped, and then like at didn't mean to do that at like Instagram name get like X result in X time frame with risk reversal. But if you don't have that, you can just say like, I don't know, I'm looking to partner with X niche to get X result in X time frame. And then you could say something like PS. And this is what I always do. I always just do the PS because this is like your heavy risk reversal or unique guarantee. So it's important you have a unique guarantee. For those that don't know what a unique guarantee is, it's basically just a name on your guarantee that makes you the person or makes it seem like you're taking on the risk for them. Or this could be like if you don't have any clients, I would honestly just like say something about how you're going to set something up for free. So PS will, I don't know, set up our I don't know, reputation management for you for free or something like that, which takes like 2 minutes, but it's going to get you so many more appointments. It's ridiculous. Because if you do this volume, then the only three problems you're going to have is what we've covered. Let's have the lead quality, the profile, or the messaging. Like those are the only three things, if by process of elimination, that you could be struggling with. Obviously you could argue that volume, like obviously assuming you send the volume, then these are the three things that you struggle with. But nonetheless, hopefully that makes sense for like the offer part. Obviously I didn't have time to actually like fill it out, but this is just what we've seen work. Yeah, I think there's actually an example for you guys in the school. Obviously all of you are, but I think in I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it's in the appointment setting. I think it's in this one, the live examples and appointment setting. I do actually cover like a second message that's a bit better, and I show you that people have responded to that. So that's more for like live examples. But nonetheless, let's quickly final thing is to just track your metrics. So for the V2 variation, so this is this one, which is the opener, and this is the majority of what you'd be sending in the week. You do at least 7 follow-ups every 24 hours. So that's one thing. And then for the first one, where you send more value in terms of a Loom and a video, you would do one thing, which is put them into a tracking sheet. Super important. Every single person you send a Loom to, or a voice note to, or a video to, you would put them into the tracking sheet because they are your most like wanted clients, you could say. So you must do infinite follow-ups to them. And yeah, you can also leverage that you actually spent time out of your day making this video, even if it only took 2 minutes, which it should. But nonetheless, yeah, because you can have more aggressive follow-ups. And in terms of what follow-ups should look like, let me quickly go on to the tracking sheet that you guys need is in the vault. Let's try and find it. I think it's I don't know which one it is. Maybe this one. Well, actually, you can search in the. Let me quickly search for. If I search for tracking sheet.
Oh,
It's this one. This is the tracking sheet you should guys use. But nonetheless, that is yeah. Let me actually quickly show you my follow-ups. 'Cause I think you'll find this funny. We basically have GIFs, we have voice notes, we have other things, but it's really important to be unique with follow-ups. So if you can do story like story replies with compliments, so you can just pop up from their story. That's one. Another really good one could be
see.
commenting on their just quickly commenting on their profile. And obviously you'd follow every single person you message, but if we actually go into some examples, yeah, we basically have like GIFs that we send them every single day pretty much, and this will get you like an absolute ton more of appointments. So you see, like these are actually what we send. I mean, I don't do it, but my appointment setter, my appointment setter send these to like every single person. So yeah, and then we have voice notes as well. So yeah, we essentially send voice notes and everything. So yeah, I recommend creating a folder like that for yourself, because it actually works like 10 times better.